The One Punch Man manga probably just died. It's time for the latest news out of Japan. One Punch Man is for sure one of the most popular series out there. Season 1 of its anime took it to the mainstream, and Season 2 did just enough to keep it there. Since then, the only content fans have had to enjoy is the manga. For the most part, it's been good. The story has had trending moments that brought not only great attention, but great satisfaction. The good times may now be over though. The top posts on the One Punch Man subreddit are all you really need to see. It's depressing, but also the humor is great. Personally, our first thought goes to the recent Squid Game meme. I've read these chapters before. Redraws have dealt a great blow to the series. For those not familiar with One Punch Man's manga, this is probably confusing. After all, I don't think any other mainstream series has this problem. A redraw is exactly what it sounds like, redrawing a manga chapter, changing what had happened and redirecting the story. Imagine reading, let's say, chapter 1000 of your favorite manga this week, and then 1 week later finding out the newest release is also chapter 1000 but with a new story, erasing what you'd read the previous week. If you don't read One Punch Man, this probably sounds weird to you, but One Punch Man fans are used to this. The series artist Yusuke Murata seems to really love redrawing his manga. If the quality of his artwork alone doesn't make it clear enough, his habit of redrawing the story should. Murata is clearly a perfectionist. Prior to this new update, the latest chapter of One Punch Man was chapter 211, where Blast regained his strength and learned Empty Void's flawed plan to deceive God by creating an army of avatars. If you're a casual fan, you might be wondering what's going on with Saitama, but we have to keep the spoilers light. Now this week, it should have been chapter 212, but fans were surprised to find out the story had rewinded back to chapter 195. Chapter 195, which was initially released November 1st, 2023. Everything fans have been reading for over a year was just made irrelevant. I'm sure the depressing vibe of the One Punch Man subreddit is making sense to you now. To be clear, this isn't going back to fix one chapter. A redraw changes the timeline entirely, meaning the current arc will be redone. It's a big deal. One fan put it like this when talking about one of the new pages. This panel is insanely good, but literally no one is asking for it. Gonna waste another half a year, maybe even a full year. They're probably right. One Punch Man has an irregular release schedule. Sometimes new chapters are weekly, sometimes they're bi-weekly, other times they're monthly. Depending on how Murata's schedule and life are going, this could either be a very slow build-up to where the story is supposed to be, or a very fast one. There is one positive update, which is that Murata has already confirmed the next release will be in 1 week. So maybe he's aware of how frustrating this is for fans, and also wants to breeze through this redraw. A few fans are taking the news well, welcoming a redraw because the chapters up to now haven't been good, or at least not as good as they could be with an artist like Murata. Take this comment for example. I know a lot of the fandom is pissed, but I won't hide the fact that I'm so happy this arc is being redrawn. This chapter alone just has incredible quality and feels so much more like One Punch Man. Hopefully Murata is able to stay consistent this time. They might just be coping though. We have to agree with this person's response to that. Damn dude, you were coping hardcore. I feel like you're gonna break too, sooner or later. I know it. I went there. It's hard not to blame fans for coping. If you're a serious fan, you want to support the series and believe things will be alright. One Punch Man is probably the best example of why it is sometimes better to just be an anime-only fan. The anime is the final version of the product. Clearly, until it's animated or printed in a physical volume, changes are fair game. And in case you're wondering about how this affects the manga volumes, their releases are very far behind where the manga is now. There is a pretty funny and possibly valid conversation on Reddit about this situation that started with one fan suggesting they just scrap the arc altogether, prompting someone to reply, yeah, they need to stop trying to make any and every interaction into an entire arc. This should have been resolved immediately by Saitama so they could move on from it. That's not even the best part. This is. It's especially funny when the arc is already written. It's already all there in the webcomic. It's a fun little intermission arc that gives background to Flash and Sonic. Just adapt it for God's sake and let us finally have a My Mask arc. One Punch Man fans watching this, let us know in the comments if you agree. For those that don't know, One Punch Man comes from originally a webcomic. The story is based around that with many original changes. Instead of the typical manga to anime adaptation we all know and love, One Punch Man is webcomic to manga to anime. Fans have always praised the manga for its story and great artwork, which is literally incomparable to the webcomic. Though as time goes on and fans endure redraw after redraw, the webcomic is probably starting to gain new fans. Many think the greatest issue the manga faces is a lack of focus from Murata and One. Murata is not only working on One Punch Man, he also started an anime studio, and One is working on at least 3 different stories at the same time. How much of an impact this has is unknown, but it's a common point. After talking so much about fans' complaints and possible reasons for redraws, it's worth it to read an old comment from Murata about his work on One Punch Man. In 2017, Murata said this: "I know some people were unhappy when I was tasked with redrawing One Punch Man, but I'm not going to change myself for them. Whether it's drawing for work or fun sketches, I will only ever draw stuff that makes me happy. Some of you worry that the criticisms would make me change my MO. I assure you, that will never happen." This isn't the first time One Punch Man has had redraws upset fans, but the reaction this time is very strong as a substantial amount of work is going to be remade. The comments on Murata's Twitter account from both Japanese and English-speaking fans are endless. He's one of the more active manga artists on Twitter, so he's definitely aware of the reception. On one hand, the current arc was unpopular, so you could say a redraw makes sense, but it's understandable that fans don't want to spend a year reading something to then have it made irrelevant. This meme sums it up pretty well. The current arc in grand scheme is not important, according to die-hard fans. This small part of the story being given so much attention is tiring. One fan put it like this: "This is getting real bland. The manga has really no direction, and a mini unimportant arc is getting more plot redraws than the MA arc." If your favorite manga not named One Punch Man had an unpopular arc that spanned more than a year, would you want the author to redraw it, or simply move on and try harder on the next part of the story? That's really the question right now for fans. Of course, it's not that simple in the case of One Punch Man, because this is not the first redraw, but you get the point. A lot of fans are saying they'll take a 6-month break from the story and then pick it back up after the story has progressed. We won't directly support that idea because it'd be better for fans to try to keep their favorite manga relevant, but at the same time, we can't blame those who choose to take a break. Fans that start to read the One Punch Man manga after the coming season 3 hype have no idea what they're in for. Will you be taking a break from the manga? Or maybe you're an anime only who now will never take up the manga. Let us know in the comments and maybe you'll make it into a future video. In other news, the anime industry is being crushed by pirates.